2, baba. Hi everyone. Hopefully you can hear me. Please me. 1, 2, 1, 2. Sorry about this. 1, 2, baba. There we go. Should be on air. Just check. Make sure we are. Okay. Back online. Thanks everyone for joining me in that live stream. Can you hear me okay? Paul, Toby in the live room. Can you guys hear me? Hopefully you can. Hello? I thought I would just quickly go through the patch basically, because some of you are asking a lot of questions there while I'm playing, which I'm frantically trying to answer at the same time as turn all the dials and stuff like that, so perhaps this is the way to do it. Ultimately the hub of everything, a little low on the volume, hang on. 1, 2, baba. 1, 2, that should be a bit better. Yeah, 1, 2, there we go. Turn up the mic, done it. Is that better, Paul? Hopefully. So, yeah, the hub of everything that I'm doing here is essentially all running through the Hermod. And the Hermod is by Squarp Instruments, and this thing essentially integrates between Ableton and the modular for me. It's brilliant. I program basically most of the stuff inside of Ableton, and then what I do is route it out of Ableton via this USB cable from my computer, and I use the 8 tracks from the Hermod basically. And the reason I do that is because I've been working in Ableton Live for years, and there's a lot of max MSP patches that I use for sequencing, and I want to take advantage of all of that. So it's the way that I come up with some of my beats, or some of the rhythms, or some of the melodies using these max MSP patches. So what I can do is program in Ableton, send it to the Hermod, and then kick it out to the system, and it just syncs really well. I press play in Ableton and it plays in the Hermod, start, stop, reset, everything. It's really, really cool. What I can do then as well, once I've basically got my melodies and my beats sorted out, I just hit record in the Hermod, and it'll just record it straight in to the Hermod. I can then turn off the computer, I can turn off Ableton, and I can basically just play it all from the Hermod, because it records it into there into real time. So that's the main thing that I use. What other questions did we have? Please do ask away while you're here in the chat room. Yes. What was I using Push for? Push because, yeah, I'm using Ableton, and the Push for me is just a way of just triggering some of the clips in there, and there was basically 3 clips that I was changing, and they were playing chords. Those chords are coming out of channel 1 and then straight into the Hermod. Channel 1 on the Hermod, actually channels 1, 2 and 3 all go to these 3 Instro TSLs, and those TSLs basically are my polyphonic voices, if you like. I'll just move it back onto there. So can you see the 3 Instro TSLs here? So I use those. Basically, each one plays a note, so I can play 3 notes, and that gives me polyphony. The reason I've chosen these particular oscillators, these TSLs, is because they've got really interesting waveform shaping in it. So I can, rather than just using a square wave, a sine wave, sawtooth, whatever, I can actually use wavefolding on all 3 of them and generate more interesting tones basically when I'm playing chords. Let me just, I can actually show you that now. So if I just solo this, and they're all running through this overseer as well, and I turn down the sound. Let's get this up. So I've got all three TSLs running into Tangle Quartet. These are the VCAs. So I can basically control amplitude. They are being controlled by the Quadra here. The first three, 1, 2, 3, allow me to change the attack and decay. So I can have very stabby chords like that, or I could just have the third voice long, or the first voice long. So they go into the Tangle Quartet. They then go into this little mixer by Basil Instruments, the ABC, which allows me to mix in stereo, and then it goes into the Overseer stereo filter, which has got a high pass and a low pass on it. So that's it fully open. And then I can open up all the decay. I've got octave shifts. I've got octave shifts there on all of the voices using the ALM Beast chalkboards. And I've managed to, this is really cool, with these Beast chalkboards, I've managed to actually wedge them in sideways into the 1U here, which has saved me some space in the rack. So I'm using them on their side basically, which I was really happy about when that happened. So that's that bit. Yes, Paul Talbot, Live is basically my editor, my sequencer to begin with, and then I record everything into the Hermod. Nice and easy, just hit record on Hermod, record your parts in, and then close the computer. Multitrack recording, Tobe Illusion. How does the multi-track recording work? I basically have everything going out, individual voices, into a Mackie 32.8 mixing desk. This Mackie allows me to have basically everything individual. I've got guitar effects pedals on aux sends, some Strymon stuff, some Eventide stuff, and I can use grouping as well. I've got some compressors, and all of that basically then goes into some sound cards to multi-track into Ableton. So I record in real time as I'm jamming basically. And I really like doing things this way as opposed to just sitting there with a mouse clicking and things. So the reason I'm doing these live streams actually is I'm building up material for my new releases. By doing this, I'm live streaming and I'm capturing everything, and then I can basically save everything, go back into it, and then I can rework it. I can add some extra percussion, obviously compress, EQ, mix things as well. I appreciate what you're hearing isn't the best quality as well because it's coming through YouTube. So you're gonna hear it just doesn't sound as good, believe me, as it does in this room. The low end, the sub, the top end, the mix sounds much better. It sounds a lot healthier in this room. So it's just one thing you're not going to get on YouTube. What other questions have we got? Could you show how to tune the 3 VCOs and what envelope? Oh yeah, so I just talked about that, I suppose, a little bit, mate. With the 3 TSLs by Instruo, they're playing my chords, goes into the Overseer. One thing that I am using as well with the Overseer, which is pretty cool, is a new module that I've just got. Am I using it? No, I'm not using it. I thought I was. Well, I just bought the Zadar by Chaos Devices. XAOC devices, and these are it's really cool. I'm using that actually to do some envelope stuff. Got it over in my second rack to the right here. Just in case you're wondering why I've got two individual racks, basically I've got one set up, the one on the left hand side for all my main voices, and the one on the right hand side has got envelopes and gates and sequencers, and there's even an ER301 in there. So when I want to interject some interesting rhythmical gate sequencing stuff, I basically can throw it from that case into the other one. The other reason I've got two cases is because when I go out and play live, I can close these up, they've got lids, I can leave things patched, and I can go off and do my gig, open the lids, and continue where I started from. So this is the Zadar over here. If you haven't used the Zadar or seen it before, it gives you 4 channels, and each channel you can have a different kind of interesting waveform spat out to wherever you want it to go, basically. So you can see output B there's got these interesting squiggles, C's got a very basic envelope going on, and you can basically just change the waveform. These are all presets, you can't actually load your own in, and then you can actually change them though. You can reverse them, and you can change the kind of response, the amplitude of them up and down, and you can also kind of move them left and right, and that's really interesting. As soon as I started using this to open and close filters, I was coming up with some really interesting rhythms straight away. So don't forget, rhythms can not only just come from gates, but they can also come from these kind of really complex envelope generators, basically. It's really cool. Got some other questions here. You've got 2 of the IntelliGel Quad VCAs. Yeah, the only VCAs that I've got are the Tangle Quartet, which has got 4 VCAs in it. I got this because it's nice and small. It gives you a mix output as well as 4 individual outputs. So just go to the right camera. And these, yeah, I really like it. It's nice and clean, but I think it slightly overdrives when you turn the volumes all the way around. I think it slightly adds a bit of overdrive to it. Question here from Toballusion. Is the third case self-bit? Yeah, actually, actually, I built all of the cases in this room. So the 2 in front of me and the big one to the right, yeah, I've actually got 3 cases in here. The big one to my very far right is one that I first made. I bought the rails from Clicks and Clocks. It's got 4 rows of 104, or is it 108 HP? And it's got 1 row of 1U in there as well. And that's basically got it's basically got just stuff that I'm not really using at the moment, and stuff that actually I've got for sale as well. The Eloquencer's in there, which I love. I've been using that one. Let me just turn it around. You want maybe this camera to see better, or this one. That's the one you want, yeah. So, yeah, this case. Sorry, I just realised that was muted. I was just saying in that rack. Sorry, I'm back online. Yeah. Sorry about that. Yeah, the microphone went off there as well. I've really got to sort out the streaming issues here. If I'm going to carry on streaming, I've got to sort this out. Thanks. I think it was Dual Tricks who mentioned I should maybe stream at a lower bitrate. I will do that in future. I'm streaming at 1080p, 6 megabytes. Maybe I should calm that down a little bit. I forgot to change the bitrate. I will next time. So yeah, the Eloquencer, the reason I'm not using the Eloquencer at the moment, I love the Eloquencer, I got it, I was doing all sorts of great stuff with it. It's just that I'm using a Hermod now just to link Ableton at the moment. But I think I'm going to combine the Eloquencer with the Hermod, and I think that's going to give some really interesting stuff. The probability stuff inside the Eloquencer is really good, and there's just been a new update on it. And there's also a new expander that's just come out for it, which does MIDI as well. There's an effect. There's a Bitbox in there as well, 1010 Bitbox. I've got two of them. One in my main rack here, which I use for my kicks and loops. The kicks I'm sequencing, by the way, from the Arturia BeatStep Pro, and this is receiving a clock from Ableton, so it's in sync. And basically, I've got a drum track here, and that's just triggering 4 to the floor, kick drum, straight to the Bitbox, and obviously I can change the rhythm. And I can mute things from there as well. It's just a really simple way of just programming that Bitbox for percussion. Basically, it saves me using a channel from the Hermod, and I can just use it from the BeatStep Pro. Yeah, the Winter Modular is preparing to launch the Eloquencer extender for MIDI. Yeah, it is, and that'd be really cool when that's out. I'm looking forward to that. I might grab it if I need it. But there's a few things I've got to sell first, like the AMS A-Toner, and I've got a U Ornament and Crime, and a Maleko ADLFO, a couple of other bits as well. So I've got to get rid of some stuff. I just received the Macro Machines Omni mod today, which is a bit like the Zadar, which I showed you a minute ago. But what it does is it allows you to create your own bespoke things. If I go into this screen, might be able to see that. And yeah, you can basically build your own bespoke stuff in here, which you can't do on the Zadar. So it's very similar to the Zadar. 4 channels again of envelopes. I just haven't plugged it in. But I've got to talk about this beast next to it, the Strakal Brulu. I think that's how it's pronounced. This one here. This is basically a fuzz distortion module, and I'm running my main bass oscillator out through it as well, and that's giving me all that big distorted super duper bass sound. So if I just go into Ableton, and I'm just going to let's play, where is it, VCO6. Gives me just like awesome super bass. Love it. If I take it out, and add it back in, you can hear what it's doing. Some reverb and delay on there as well, just for good measure as well. Yeah, the Macro Machine Omni mod was, yeah, as I understand it, there was some issues and there was a bit of a delay in that coming out, but it's here. And yeah, I read quite the long thread on Muff Wigglers about the Omni mod and it taking a while, but I totally get it. And the guy was, you know, he was quite upfront why there was delays and stuff happens, and it's out now and it's cool. The only thing I don't think you can do is save a load of presets in it. You basically saves whatever you've done to it. So I think there's a strip, an extended that you can get, an expander, which allows you to save some of the presets in there as well. Have we got any other questions before I head off? Thanks so much as well for tuning in and checking out stuff, and I appreciate that these tracks aren't studio quality and things like that at the minute. They're starting points for me to develop and expand upon. I just like to share things with you as I'm going, and also to get some feedback from you as well about, you know, things you might like. And also it allows me to kind of create a bit of a diary as I go along. I can listen back to these jams and pick things out that I like, and yeah, it allows me to remember stuff basically. It's my own little sort of go check it out diary thing. Any other questions? It would also be the, oh yeah, Deluge. I haven't used the Deluge. That's an interesting one. That could be quite a cool synth to get in the future. I haven't really used it, to be honest. I've got too much that I need to get into here. I've the ER301, which I'm not spending enough time with. I need to, really. It's a very powerful machine. There's a new OS just come out for it, a new firmware that I need to update, actually. So I need to get that installed. And there's some really cool stuff that people have been making for the ER301. Yeah, Pat. You are beta testing my next release. Yes, that's if the record label likes it. They might not like it. Who knows? I don't even know if they know I'm live streaming the material. But the material will change. You know, it will. I've actually got a 12-inch double A side coming out very soon. I've just signed off those, and they are pretty much, as you heard, live jamming. Live streams. It's two that the label have chosen to release, and they are what they are. I haven't edited them. I couldn't actually, because they were only recorded as stereo 2-track, so I couldn't go in and do any extra manipulation. So they are what they are, and they're going out on vinyl pretty soon. And then I'm working on a 4-track EP, which is going to kind of build upon this style of jamming live, basically, with some additional programming in there. Oh, Paul, thanks so much for checking out this Sculpt demo that I did. Yeah, the Sculpt synth. I've actually still got the one over here. Where is it? It's in the other room. I've actually got the cheers, by the way. I've got the original Sculpt here somewhere. Mine's see-through, which made it quite hard to do all the programming because you couldn't read the writing very well on the case. But they've changed that now, and I think they're going to make some black ones. Anyway, I think that's it for now. Oh, I should mention just a couple of other voices that I'm using. One of the nice things, one of the other voices that I'm using is Rings. And I love Rings, but the way I'm using it, I'm not using it in its original mode. I don't know if you know this, but Rings has a Easter egg mode. Basically, I've got nano rings, by the way. If you turn it on, if you hold down some buttons when they're in a particular combination, it turns into a string synthesizer, and I've got it in that mode. That is going through the MMM VCF, which is an awesome stereo filter that actually slightly distorts the signal, and it gives this grainy, gritty, I love it. It's quite a powerful sound. You can hear the Big Sky shimmer reverb I've got on that as well. and I've actually got I'm FMing the FM input from the VCF from the Zadar. Which channel am I using? So that rhythm you're hearing is the Zadar. So if I turn this back over here, that is basically changing the rhythm of the way that that VCF is opening and closing from the Zadar. Don't know how well you can see that. What else is there? Oh yeah, I've got a Piston Honda Mk2, and this thing is a right beast. I love this Piston Honda. It's does all this kind of stuff. And it's just dirty. It's just really aggressive, and I love it. It's just another sound, another texture in the rack there. I'll do a longer video on